Welcome to Herts and Essex and welcome to Psychology at Herts and Essex. My name is Mr. Gibbs and I'm the subject leader for Psychology. This is my 14th year in post here at Herts and Essex. Psychology is taught here between myself and my colleague.
My name is Mrs. Rogers and this is my 8th year teaching here at Herts and Essex. Within this video we'll be talking through a PowerPoint to introduce you to psychology as a course at A-level, and also to tell you the reasons as to why we think you should study psychology here at Herts and Essex.
Why would you go anywhere else?
And finally to talk you through what you can do with psychology within higher education and also within the world of work.
So by way of a definition, psychology is defined as the scientific study of mind and behaviour. A few years ago, psychology was listed on the AQA website as a humanities subject alongside subjects like history, geography and RS. But now we're listed as a science alongside physics, chemistry and biology. So we're interested in studying the mind and behaviour, where people think, feel and act as they do, but we want to study that scientifically. So you'll see from the course overview that there are 3 papers in psychology, and effectively all of these have 4 topics on each. Paper 2 there are only 3 topics, but research methods is worth double, so that gives us 4 topics on each of 3 papers, and that's 12 topics in each.
All 3 units are assessed by a 2-hour exam, and so there is no coursework for Psychology A-level. All of the exams are equally weighted, worth 33% of the overall A-level, and they are assessed in the summer of Year 13. All of the papers within the exam have a mixture of different types of questions, ranging from multiple choice, short answer and extended writing questions.
In terms of our entry requirements, so we require a grade 6 in GCSE English, and if you studied psychology before, we'd like a grade 6 in that too. The majority of our students haven't studied psychology before, and it's a new subject at A-level. On paper 1 we have 4 topics, so those are social influence, memory, attachment and psychopathology.
The first topic, social influence, and this is concerned with social groups of people in our lives and how they can influence our thoughts, attitudes and behaviours. We'll be looking at why some individuals are highly conformist and they feel the need to follow the crowd, as well as looking at why some individuals are highly obedient, obeying any order without question, whilst others are much more disobedient, constantly questioning those in authority.
On the memory topic, we'll look at things like short-term memory and long-term memory. We'll also look at things like eyewitness testimony. So if you're an eyewitness to a major crime, to a bank robbery, or to something like a road traffic accident, you might be called into court to testify or give testimony about that later. And we'll look at whether or not you're likely to be accurate as an eyewitness. We're also going to have a look at forgetting. So reasons why people are able to remember and reasons why people are likely to forget. And one of these is called context-dependent retrieval. So I'll give you an example. So if, for example, I'm at home and I'm downstairs in my kitchen and I think to myself, I need to go upstairs and get some socks. I walk upstairs, okay, and go and get my socks. By the time I get upstairs, because I'm an elderly person and my memory isn't that good, okay, I'll probably have forgotten why it was that I came up in the first place. So I'm now standing upstairs wondering where I should be going and what I'm doing up here. In that situation, what I'm going to do is go back downstairs. Go back downstairs and go back into my kitchen, and as soon as I'm there, socks, okay, it comes back to me and I realise what it is that I went up for in the first place. And the reason for this is that when you encode a memory, when you put it into storage, in this case socks, you also encode the context or the place where you were, in this case kitchen. So when I'm back in the kitchen I can remember it, when I'm upstairs in a different context I can't. So you get the sense then that your memory works downstairs but it doesn't work upstairs.
The third topic is attachment, and this topic is concerned with child development, and we can all relate to this as we were all babies once. You will be learning about how and why children form loving attachments with their caregivers, and we teach you 2 competing theories. One is deeply meaningful, claiming that babies attach to their caregivers for an evolutionary purpose, for survival and eventual reproduction. And the second, on the other hand, is somewhat less meaningful, claiming that the reason babies attach is because they love food and their caregivers give them food.
So the 4th and final topic is psychopathology, and this is looking at mental illness and mental disorders, and this is seen as the classic psychology topic. Now the 3 disorders that we look at, okay, are phobias, depression and obsessive compulsive disorder. So if I give you a quick example in terms of phobias, we'll be looking at different types of phobia. Now that might be animal phobias like spiders or sharks or rats or snakes. It could be things like blood injection injury, so people with a fear of needles, for example. It could be something like a fear of public speaking. There are lots of different types of phobias. When we're looking at them in this particular topic, we'll be looking at what causes the phobia and how we treat it. So, for example, if you have arachnophobia, a fear of spiders, then one treatment might be systematic desensitization. We might slowly but surely get you more used to being exposed to spiders as your phobic object. And that might start with something quite small and work up the ladder until we get the maximum level of exposure to the spider, to your phobic object. So that might be, for example, having a tarantula crawling all over you. If we're feeling particularly evil, then we might do that with something called flooding, whereby we start right at the top of that fear hierarchy immediately. So we go straight into having that tarantula crawl all over you. And those will be different treatments for arachnophobia as part of that psychopathology topic. On paper 2, there appear to be 3 topics: approaches in psychology, biopsychology, and research methods. But in reality, we'd see this as 4, because research methods is worth twice as much as any of the other subsections.
We begin the course by learning about the 5 different approaches or perspectives in psychology, and ultimately we are learning here about the many different causes of behaviour. Some believe that your behaviour is caused by biology, whereas others disagree, believing that your environment and perhaps even your childhood greatly contributes to why you behave the way that you do. We then have the biopsychology topic, a slightly more challenging topic, and as the name suggests, is centred on biology and looking at the physiological processes that enable us to think and act the way that we do. In this topic, we learn about the divisions of the nervous system, as well as the endocrine system, and the study of the brain in a lot of depth, known as neuroscience. We will be learning also about split brain studies, and these are a group of patients who were suffering from severe epilepsy. And they had to have their 2 hemispheres surgically separated to reduce the epileptic seizures that they were experiencing on a daily basis. We look at the fascinating effects that this surgery has on their behaviour.
In the final topic, research methods, we're going to look at the different research methods that psychologists use to study people. And our main research method is experiments. You've probably done experiments yourself in physics, chemistry and biology, but we're going to be doing experiments on people. It's going to be a little bit different. The other research methods that we use include self-report studies like questionnaires and interviews, along with things like observation, longitudinal studies, meta-analyses and correlation analysis. And we want to know what these methods are and what the strengths and weaknesses of each method is.
In paper 3, there are 4 topics: issues and debates, relationships, schizophrenia and aggression. Issues and Debates is taught at the end of Year 13, and it is where we focus on psychology's most famous debates, some of which you might already have heard of. For example, the nature-nurture debate, which discusses whether our behaviour is a result of biology, or whether it is determined by our environment. We also discuss the free will and determinism debate, which considers whether we have freedom or free choice over our actions, or whether everything is predetermined and mapped out. Relationships, a very popular topic with our students, where we learn about why we are attracted to some people and not to others, as well as looking at theories as to what makes a successful relationship. And then the flip side of that, where we look at the stages of relationship breakup. We also learn about parasocial relationships, where we look at couples who are deeply in love, however only one of them knows about it. So essentially, one of them is a stalker. And this is known as a parasocial or one-sided relationship. And these are found most often with celebrities. Who knows? You might even have a parasocial relationship with the celebrity yourself.
Schizophrenia is a fascinating topic that builds on our coverage of psychopathology in paper 1. Schizophrenia, though, is a far more serious disorder, and it's a psychosis, which means that there has been a complete breakdown of normal mental functioning and a loss of contact with reality. Schizophrenia is a very misunderstood disorder. The symptoms of schizophrenia include hallucinations, such as hearing voices, and delusions, such as delusions of grandeur, when we think we might be a famous historical or political or religious character. It's also characterised by symptoms like speech poverty. Our focus on the schizophrenia topic is to look at causes of schizophrenia and treatments for them, both biological and psychological. Aggression, final topic, is very much again focused on the cause of aggression, and this might be biological, where we look at the effects of genetics, and we look at the effects of hormones like testosterone. Or it could be psychological, for example growing up in an environment with modelled aggression from parents or family members. In the aggression topic, there's a focus on prisons and institutional aggression. Prisons are disproportionately aggressive places, and we need to know why this is the case. One argument is importation, and this relates to the people who come into prisons and their high levels of aggression. But another explanation is deprivation, where we focus on the place itself and what prison does to the people who come into it. The aggression topic also looks at the effects of media representations of aggression. So we'll look at the effects of media violence, and that could be a positive effect, a negative effect, or no effect. i.e., does watching violent media make you more aggressive, less aggressive, or have no effect on your behaviour? As well as looking at media content, we'll also looking at the effects of playing violent video games. And again, this could work in those three ways. Does violent video gameplay make you more aggressive, less aggressive, or have no effect on your behaviour? We'd now like to talk about why you should do psychology here at Herts and Essex. And one of the main reasons is the excellent results that our students have obtained over the last few years. At A-level, every subject in every department, in every school and every college in the country is measured with this ALPS scale, and this stands for A-level point score. And this is a 1 to 9 scale, where 1 is the highest. And you'll see from this slide that here at Herts and Essex, psychology consistently hits an ALPS 2 or ALPS 3. And that puts us in the top 25% or even the top 10% nationally in terms of value added results. And this measures the difference between what students had at GCSE and what they get at A-level. So obviously the more value added progress that they make, the higher their A-level grade compared to their GCSE grades, then the better our ALPS score. And we're really pleased with this consistent achievement. This slide shows the exact grades achieved by our students each year from 2013 to 2020. And it's 2013 that Mrs. Rogers and I first started teaching together at Herts and Essex. If you have a look at the student numbers column, you'll see that in 2013 we had 40 students, and this has risen consistently year on year until we get to 2020 with 92 students. We currently have 77 students in year 13 and 90 students in year 12, making us the biggest subject here in the sixth form at Herts and Essex. If you have a look at the right hand column, that's our ALPS score, and you'll see that we're rated consistently either 3 excellent or 2 outstanding. 3 excellent then puts us in the top 25% for value added progress of our students, and 2 puts us in the top 10% of value added for our students, and that's rated as outstanding. So last year, you'll see in 2020, 8 of our students achieved A-star grades, 29 achieved A grades, and 23 achieved B grades. And we're really pleased with that performance, and we're really proud of the achievements of our students over this period. As well as these excellent results, there are other reasons to take psychology here at Herts and Essex. Hopefully, from the chat through that we had earlier, you'll agree that most of the topics that we cover are very interesting. And in Mrs. Rogers and myself, you have 2 very experienced teachers. We like to think that we have a really good rapport with the students that we teach, and we're proud of the resources that we've created in the time that we've worked together. Now this works a little bit differently here at Herts and Essex for psychology. So at the start of year 12 you'll get a pack of resources that contains everything that you need for the subject for the entire year, rather than being drip fed this lesson by lesson and week by week. You'll also get a copy of a textbook that's written by the Chief Examiner and written specifically for this AQA psychology course. That then will be repeated at the start of year 13. You'll get another pack of resources for the entire year, and that again will cover everything that you need for psychology for year 13. You'll get another textbook, and that again is written by the same Chief Examiner and again written specifically for this particular AQA psychology course. So by the start of year 13 you'll have both textbooks and all the resources that you need for the course as a whole. Beyond this, psychology is an extremely respected subject in both higher education and employment. It's a very flexible subject, goes very well with other subject combinations, and there are lots of opportunities open to you in both higher education and employment. We're going to explore that with you, Gay, a little bit more detail in a minute.
However, there are some things we want you to bear in mind when choosing your A-level subjects. Psychology is a content-heavy subject, and there are 11 topics in total, although technically 12, as research methods counts as double, and therefore lots of effort will be required in the revision and completion of psychology assessments. Also, some topics are less interesting, and you will be required to undertake data analysis. You'll be required to understand inferential and statistical testing, as well as calculating percentages and ratios. Also, some content can be quite complex. For example, within the biology topic of biopsychology, you'll be required to understand the nervous system and the function and structure of neurons. So therefore, we want you to know that psychology is not an easy subject, and therefore please do not choose this subject under that assumption.
In terms of the skills that psychology develops, our 3 assessment objectives are knowledge and understanding, application, and analysis and evaluation. And beyond that, some of the other skills that we develop are listed on this slide. Psychology is an extremely flexible subject and fits very well with just about any subject combination. So, because it's a science, it will sit very well with subjects like biology, but because it develops your written skills, it will also sit very well with subjects like English, history, sociology, and RS. It's hard to think of a more flexible subject.
Looking ahead within higher education, psychology is one of the UK's fastest growing subject at degree level, and it's the 4th most popular subject overall. 1 in 24 of all graduates last year had psychology degrees. As previously mentioned, psychology is a well-respected subject, and it is offered across the full range of UK universities, including Oxbridge and Russell Group universities. There are a range of careers open to psychology graduates, ranging from forensic psychology, looking at the psychology of crime, sport, education, clinical psychology, looking at the psychology of mental illness, business psychology, health and counselling, and much, much more.
And if the absolute worst comes to the worst, you can always teach psychology. So that's the end of our PowerPoint presentation. And moving on now to the final part of this video, we'd like to introduce you to Hashir, who is our Senior Prefect for Psychology, and Eleanor, who's our Psychology Prefect. And we have a question and answer session with them. Hopefully we should answer some of the questions that you may have about psychology. So I'd like to introduce you to our students in psychology. This is Hashir, who is our Senior Prefect for Psychology, and Eleanor, who's our Prefect for Psychology. And we're going to do a short question and answer session with them. So I have 4 questions for them both. And the first one basically is as simple as, why did you take psychology in the first place? Hashir.
I chose psychology because I was really interested in learning about the different interactions with humans and the way the brain works and different psychological disorders within psychology.
Perfect, thank you. Same question to Eleanor.
I've always been really interested in how we learn and just very interesting.
Okay, perfect, thank you very much. Question number 2 is basically, what have you enjoyed most so far in the course? So what was your favourite Year 12 topic? Hashir.
My favourite Year 12 topic is either social influence or attachment. Probably mostly attachment. It's just the way how we learn how babies get attached to their parents, and it's just so interesting. Interesting.
Same question to Eleanor.
My favourite's been psychopathology, which is about different disorders like anxiety, OCD and depression, and how they're caused or treated.
Perfect, thank you very much. So the opposite question being then, okay, what are you most looking forward to about what's left of the course? So which topic in Year 13 are you most interested by?
I'm most interested in learning schizophrenia in Year 13 because I've heard it's a really popular and a really interesting course, so I can't wait to learn that.
Perfect, same question?
Yeah, mine's pretty much the same. It's schizophrenia because I don't know much about it and can't wait to find out more about it.
Perfect. Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. And final question then is, okay, after you've finished psychology, after you leave Herts and Essex, what's your next step? What do you intend to do after you leave us?
I'm looking into studying psychology at university and perhaps doing a master's and then a doctorate in clinical psychology.
Perfect, thank you. And Eleanor, same question.
I want to go on to do psychology of education at university and then go into teaching in a primary school.
Perfect, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.